Peace, family. We black again, and I gotta point this out to y'all, right? So these pale-skinned people who are not Semitic people, as I pointed to in my last video and showed you that all Semitic lands are inside of Africa, right? So why would these pale-skinned people want to be called Semitic people? Well, here's your answer. Semitic languages, right? They don't tell you the areas, they tell you the people who are speaking the Semitic languages. 4000 BC. That's like 6,000 years ago, okay? So if we look at the Semitic lands, which are in Africa, 6,000 years ago, you think there was pale-skinned people in Africa 6,000 years ago? Where's the record of them being pale-skinned people in Africa 6,000 years ago? Because we have plenty of records of black people being all over Africa and the entire world 6,000 years ago. Okay, this is what they're doing. So the attempt is to place them back further in history in places that they weren't at, because this helps them steal the culture and the history of from the original people, right? As long as we're calling pale-skinned people Semitic, right, and everyone's confused about it, they're put back in Africa in dark-skinned places 6,000 years ago because we're calling them Semitic. This is the game they're playing. This is why they need you to call them Semitic. You see? So I'm gonna just go ahead and show y'all, okay, and explain further in detail why pale-skinned people cannot be Semitic, right? When these languages, when the languages themselves, right? This is another game that the pale-skinned people play. They want to place people in language groups instead of race, right? But that's also how they can come back later and steal from the original people. So this is why from now on race is very important and will always be important and has always been important, and why it's very important to say black when it's black people. All right, so when these languages were created 6,000 years ago, like I just said, and ChatGPT just said, not just me, it's known, right? There was no pale-skinned people in these lands 6,000 years ago when those languages were created, right? And on top of that, Europeans think that the vowels are left out of Semitic languages. They don't even understand the African mentality because Africans created the languages, and only Africans can explain to you why other people think the vowels are left out, right? Because it comes from African people. I've never heard anybody other than African people be able to explain why the vowels are left out of the written language. Only African people can explain that because it came from African people and African genius. Thank you.